It is the week 3 panic meter podcast. I stole that from Badlands. That's what they called their podcast of their week. I was like, that's a good way to phrase it. Panic meter podcast. Nice alliteration. I'm not too panicked. I'm a little depressed because Jets are 0-3, and that's not good. But Dylan Tereman was at the game, spent American currency to fly down to Tampa, and almost died of heat stroke to watch the game. How was it?
Oh man, it was the weekend in totality was a ton of fun. I got to meet so many listeners, so many great people, so many great content creators. Jake, Robbie, Will Parkinson. I've seen multiple times, but
Will's an
I saw
animal,
him
man.
here.
Will is like he goes everywhere.
Yeah, apparently he's going to like 89% of the games this year. So good for him. That's awesome. That's dedication at its finest. But yeah, so many good content creators. Fireman Ed shook hands with him. That was great. Just so much excitement going into the weekend, and there was like optimism brewing all weekend because of just how many Jets fans were in Tampa Bay and walking into the stadium. It's just a sea of green, and as annoying as the cannons were and as hot as the stadium was, the game was just as brutal, to be honest. Like the ESPN win probability showed it. We were talking offline a little bit about it. We didn't really stand a chance, especially right after the pick six. I think we were less than 8%. It was 7 and change percent chance to win after the pick six. And it was all the way down to 0.6% by the blocked field goal. So the Jets were relatively uncompetitive for most of this game. And it did take a miracle play by Will McDonald, which will get lost in the archives, unfortunately. But it was, it was still an okay game. You can pull some things away from it, and I think as we get through the week and we watch all of the film, we'll find some positives. Like Engstrand had some guys running open. I still want to see a little bit more predictability or unpredictability, excuse me, from Engstrand. I think it's still a little stale. Under center runs is just abysmal at this point. Everybody knows it's happening. And defensively, I called for it last week. Wholesale changes.
Yeah.
The scheme is the problem, Wilkes. And I hate the fact that the creator of the scheme is telling us that the scheme is not the problem, because it certainly is the problem right now. You're putting your guys in not the best positions to win, which all summer we heard that's what they're going to do. Aaron Glenn talked about it. Wilkes talked about it. Engstrand's talked about it. They want to put their guys in the best position to win. Through 3 games, I don't know if the defense has played one full solid quarter of together football. It's always just a coverage breakdown or somebody falling over in man coverage. This time it's Brandon Stevens tripping Malachi Moore on the Baker Mayfield scramble where Michael Clemens is an absolute hell by a tight end for 6 seconds. And it's just like, we know the problems of this defense. So like, let's see the wholesale changes, because we don't want to be calling for guys' jobs, and nobody should be. But it's getting to the point with Wilkes where it's kind of repetitive, where it's like we need to see new things. Engstrand, I feel like he in the second half changed things up, so I'm not going to kill him in the offense, but it did look bad in the beginning. They couldn't stop the blitz from the safeties. The running backs were in hell in pass pro. I mean, Tyrod was just getting hammered in the whole first half. The sack, fumble, and the pick six obviously are killers for the team in general, but the defense never really came together as a unit that day. And Bucks tried to give it to him, man. They tried to 14 penalties, 124 yards. The refs were giving like the Jets every opportunity with the Bucks, who were missing 3 offensive linemen, 5 that weren't even in their natural position. That's every single player on your offensive line not at their natural position for a whole game. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I'm going on a rant now, but like it wasn't as competitive as I thought. And I guess maybe the fact that I've been to 2 of these 3 games in person now. I was in Pittsburgh and saw one of the best games we might see all year from this team. And then I was at this game in Tampa Bay where it was super hot, and it just didn't feel like the Jets really had a chance until they had a chance. And then you immediately knew they didn't have a chance. So it was like that false hope. And we love it, but yeah, maybe later on in the week we'll find more takeaways that are positive, but it's really hard to peel myself up off the ground. I guess pick myself up into a solid form, because I was a melted puddle out there.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it must have been like on the field if it was like 100 degrees in the stands. Yeah, I think in general, like the team is 0-3, and I think the next 3 games we're gonna find out a lot about this team. Because if you told me they're 3-3, I wouldn't be shocked. And bro, if you told me they're 0-6, it's like if they keep finding ways to lose games, I wouldn't be shocked either. You do have a couple of, passing offenses that are capable with the Dolphins and the Cowboys, who could cut up our secondary. But at the same time, I'm looking at this season, and even earlier this morning, someone commented to me like, "Oh, you said this team was going to win 7 games. Like they're looking like 2-15." And it's like, yeah, I said they're going to win 7 games. I thought they'd start 1-2. So I didn't think Xavier Gibson would fumble. Is pretty much what's off track so far.
Me too. Yep.
So if you want to knock a win off of that, but like, well, we'll find out. I mean, I think that these were games that they played teams that were better than them. I think the frustrating thing about the Tampa Bay game is I don't know if they lost to a good team, because the Bucks are a good team, but if you have every single one of your offensive linemen out, if you have 4 drops that were all including that were all a potential first down, and 4 holding penalties, and you give up a special teams touchdowns. I don't know what, and the Jets were uncompetitive for 7 of their last 8 quarters. So we'll find out. Like, I think there's 2 ways. You could look at this start to the season. You could look at it as same old Jets because we're always trying to find positives. We're always close. Or you could look at it as, hey man, like it's this guy's first crack at it. It's only 3 games in. Let's see what happens when they play the teams that, even if you were, and look, it might be a loser's mentality, but it's just meeting the team where they are. I think most of us thought maybe like 7 wins. And I still think if they beat Miami, that's on the table. If they lose to Miami, then we're doing our first quarter of the season review. Like, that's a whole different tenor. So I'm just waiting to see what happens with that game against the Dolphins. In this game, I agree, man. Like you said, defensively, there's just no reason, because the excuses don't apply to why the defense should be this bad. Did you see the movie Weapons?
I'm not familiar now.
So if you ever watched the movie Weapons, that is how, like, this lady with cast a spell on these kids, and they all like Naruto run towards whatever she wants them to go to. And that is how the Jets defense pursues the football. They all are just like mindlessly like droning towards the football, like, and then they're like aghast when someone actually cuts back, and then they're changing directions. That has been the craziest thing to me, is the inability to pursue the football and to make tackles. The back end of the defense has been bad, and that part of the team is not a rebuild, that they're not newbies back there. Because again, if you didn't want to pay Sherwood, you threw Kiko out there. You didn't want to pay Stevens, you throw A.G. Thomas out there. You didn't want to pay Cisco, you throw Malachi Moore out there. Then it's kind of a different conversation. If you're just if you're bluntly tanking and doing a full down to the studs rebuild, like Salah's first year, where there was no talent besides like CJ Mosley and Quinnen. But that's not the case. You made these investments, they're not paying off. So I think that's a fair criticism for sure. And if you watch teams like Brian Flores, man, it is night and day. Like, every time what the Jets are doing, you can know what the defense is. As a fan, you know exactly what they're doing. And then you see Brian Flores, like, last second, it looks like blitz, but it's quarter, half. This guy's dropping back. Who's coming? Who's going? We know that from Rex Ryan. We've all seen that. The amoeba front defenses. This defense, like, I think Wilkes is calling this defense like he has Prime Revis and like Sanders at corner.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't right now.
It's all fair criticisms, man. You said it's like 7 or 8 returning starters on this defense, and you're paying big money to most of the back 7. And this is a coaching staff where Wilkes, Glenn, even Dre Bly, Chris Harris, like, there's a lot of good experience in that room coaching these guys. I listed the corners as the best room in the entire team, and the safeties were kind of down by the bottom. Actually, they were like 3rd from the bottom behind like tight end and special teams, but the cornerbacks were number 1 as like my strongest position. And a lot of that had to deal with like the influence on coaching staff and already talent in place. And it's like, we're just not seeing it, no matter who it is, whether it was Brandon Stevens for basically every quarter of this game or of the season, Sauce Gardner in like the worst moments, having that like back break. And the one penalty on him was egregious, and I think it shouldn't have been called. But like, there's just moments where the guy's making a catch on him, and it's like, all right, Sauce, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. And Michael Carter's having a hard time staying on the field and keeping his footing on the turf sometimes. Even he's just fallen over so many times in man coverage. I want to say 2 or 3 times in the last 2 weeks he fell over and created a first down. The one time I think they dropped it against the Bills and we got lucky, but it's like there's always one guy in the secondary specifically who's not doing their job. Tony Adams just doing God knows what and getting hurt, or Andre Cisco faking like he's hurt.
Did you see Andre Cisco take out like 3 of his own teammates on the Baker run? Dude, that Baker Mayfield scramble up the sideline was everything with
It's
with
everything
the Jets
wrong with the three
defense so
people we
far.
talk about the most:
Yeah.
Michael Clemens, Brandon Stevens, Andre Cisco. The three culprits. Like, we knew what these guys were, and like, I don't want to say the fans are smarter than the coaching staff, but when it came to the guys that were in house already, Xavier Gibson being the first one, and he's already gone. We've been right about all the guys that were already here, and the coaching staff was a little bit stubborn. And honestly, I would have rather them just say, you know what, we're gonna take all the guys that we don't see fit and just start new. And maybe by 2026, we'll get an entire roster, or 75+% of our roster, of guys that we know and trust. Instead of saying, we saw Tony Adams back in 2022 make an interception against Jalen Hurts, so we're going to put him in that position to make that happen again. And it just never happens with Tony Adams.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's okay, but that can't be the case for every single player that you're putting that stock into. Andre Cisco, you can't turn him back into what he was in the beginning of his career. He's probably just not a great safety. Brandon Stevens has always been bad. If the Ravens are going to give up on him, a team that just generationally has great DB talent, that's the writing on the wall, right? Like, they would have paid him $12 million a year to be their CB2 instead of going the way of old Jair Alexander. So it's just like, I don't know, little things like that. They put their eggs in their basket of, we can coach these guys up. And I bought in, but it just hasn't worked. I said 65% of these guys need to show that they have bounced back. And right now it might be like 15.
Yeah, I think, well, Cisco he's a tough watch versus the run, his tackling. I think he is
Mm-hmm.
really built to be on a defense that can have some positive scripts and be a little bit more aggressive when other teams are trying to pass, is kind of the nature of his game. I think he'll end up getting a couple of picks. The Michael Carter is really unfortunate
Mm-hmm.
because it's like he did earn the extension. He had been a good, durable, solid player, and then he was paid, and now he's hurt. And I don't think the Jets should have, like, Aaron Glenn and them should have cut him. No, they
No.
want to see him come back healthy and play, but he's just been, again, you mentioned, just like falling on the ground, so missing tackles as well. So it seems like maybe his health is just not right. So you're starting to wonder, is that real Michael Carter ever coming back? And that's just a bummer, because they don't have the margin for error to, what you're projecting Michael Carter to be. You take that away, and now that's a wrench thrown in there for sure. But I did like that AZ Thomas came in and looked ready to go. I do wonder if the fix is with Steve, because here's the thing about Stevens, man. I'll say this about Stevens: he's the only dude back there who's tackling. Like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Stevens will come up and make some plays and run support where I'm like, and I know we've done the safety conversation. They signed him to be a corner, but the guy has played safety for, like, I think he has like 10 or 11 starts in the NFL. So it's not like we're going back to college or anything. It was in, I believe, 2022 or something, his second year. I think he played safety. He went back and forth a little bit. So I'm like, I mean, I don't know. Is the answer like him to safety and then AZ Thomas into corner if they don't want to put his $12 million on the bench? Um, it's that one pass breakup from AZ Thomas. I'm like, dude, like, that was a better play than Stevens has made so far. And I don't even know if maybe Stevens is a better safety than Cisco, just because Cisco's tackling has been so
And
poor. We'll see if they
the
do some
worst part
musical
is
chairs there.
that AZ rep, it looked like a catch in real
Oh, it was
time.
definitely a catch. I'd be
And
pissed if that was our
the
team.
fact that they called it an incomplete on the field, and like, I'm like, I don't know, do they just not rule possession and the left foot at the same time? Was it too simultaneous for them to try to overturn it? But I mean, I'm glad that he played in phase. He had a really good rep. I'm not taking that away from AZ Thomas. It was just a better catch by Emeka Egbuka, and that just seemed to happen quite a bit throughout that course of the game. But yeah, I agree. AZ Thomas, I think, needs to start, and you got to figure out what to do with Stevens, even if that means moving him back to safety, because I would rather try to salvage the player in Stevens, even if it is
Yeah.
at the wrong position, rather than just sending him straight to the bench. And I get some people want to just admit the mistake, but you can admit the mistake and still
That is
try to
admitting the
salvage him
mistake, though, right?
exactly. It's just a
Yeah.
different form of admitting the mistake. So I think you can move him to safety, put AZ out there, take your lumps with the tackling on the boundary, because tight ends and boundary receivers are going to work up to the safeties and leave the corners unblocked to make the tackles on the running back. But yeah, we need to see a little bit of a change there, and maybe you can salvage Stevens for what it's worth.
Yeah, because and then if you think with Stevens, like his limitations in coverage, keeping up with receivers, like maybe they wouldn't be as prevalent if he's covering backs and tight ends. Like it just seems
Right.
he's kind of built like a safety. It seems like that could be an option. And then if you think about next year, like Cisco's on a 1 year deal, Adams is on a 1 year deal. You're hoping Malachi Moore is one of your starters. So if you're looking to next year and you're like Sauce and AZ Thomas are your boundary starting corners, Stevens and Malachi Moore are your starting safeties. And would Stevens at 12 million be like an overpaid safety as a below average starter? But it's a sunk cost. The money is, you have to pay him the money anyway. So maybe that's a way you can get some value out of it. And I think if they did do that, that would be an encouraging sign to not be stubborn and say, hey man, this isn't working and we need to change it, because there's a lot of things that I think I'm willing to see some patience on, like all of the rookies like Tanner Engstrand. But I think a player like Stevens, it's like, dude, the sample size is so big where you're like, all right, maybe we should mix something up here. The defense is weird. It's been a weird defense because actually I think the run defense has been pretty good, which has
Mhm.
been something that we've been worried about for years. The run defense has been good. I think the defensive tackles have been awesome. The defensive tackles have been as good as I can remember in like a long time, probably
Yeah.
since like Richardson and Wilkerson and Snacks. I mean, that we haven't had reliable run defending defensive interior players. Briggs looks like a stud. Phillips looks like what he is. Quinnen's coming out ready to go. And Bucky Irving had a million carries for like 5 yards. And the Bucks had a lot of like their unsuccessful play rate. They didn't have a lot of total yards. So when you look at some of these box scores, it doesn't seem like the Jets are getting just shredded for like 500 yards of offense. But at the same time, though, everyone knew that game was over when you looked at the clock and you saw Baker Mayfield had a couple minutes, or a minute and 90 seconds. You had no
Mhm.
confidence that they could get off the field in a key situation, and they haven't forced a takeaway. So they're just bad situationally, and I think schematically they're not doing um, much favors. So that could be the first thing. I think if the defense continues to struggle, like Wilkes is the first area we might look to switch things up, because it's not his first go around
Yeah,
either.
just like Stevens, there's a large sample size with
Right.
Wilt. So, and what just kind of killed me watching that game was the Bucky Irving cut back across the field with those, mindless Naruto defenders that you were
The
describing
drones, man,
earlier.
I'm telling
And
you.
yeah, like, how do you allow that to happen? And then Baker
Crazy.
Mayfield slipping 6 tackles on one play while still in the pocket, and Marcelino McCrary Ball losing his helmet on a pursuit in the pocket, and he's trying to like catch his helmet instead of going after Baker Mayfield. I'm like, I mean, don't worry about putting your helmet back on, bro. Go make the play. And Baker
Right.
just slips out of the pocket. And we know what Baker's gonna do. Like that's what he does. And he was banged up already. He had a foot and an ankle.
Mhm.
And then he got up on multiple plays where he was hit on release and he was shaking his right hand. And there was multiple throws where he just couldn't get enough oomph on the ball. Like there was a wide open touchdown pass, I believe, to
Spiked
Mike
it.
Evans. And Stevens slipped him on the back line, or he slipped Stevens on the back line. Of course, it was Stevens. And Baker just couldn't get the ball there because his hand was hurting so bad. And now they're talking about it on ESPN and NFL Live and all that stuff about, is he actually playing really hurt? And it's like, yeah, but Baker's such a gamer that like you let him win at his own game, which is letting him run around in the pocket, chirp you as soon as he gets up and takes a big hit because he's like invincible in that aspect. And then you give him the ball with 2 timeouts in 90 seconds. It's like we know what we saw the last 2 weeks. So just really unfortunate. And like you said, we got to see some wholesale changes, and they can start with Miami, right? And I feel like you can get
Mhm.
right back on track. You talked about, you predicted 1-2. I predicted a 1-2 start and then a 2-2 start with this win in Miami. So like Miami's looking at us like a get right game, but we need to be
Yep.
doing the exact same thing to them, right? Tua hasn't looked great for the most part, and even on the
No.
games where his box score is filled with good, quote unquote, good fantasy stats, he's missing Tyreek Hill like
Yeah.
by 15 yards
He's
above his
throwing
head.
checkdowns to A Chain. That's their whole offense.
Exactly. So it's a lot of yak and everything. Yes, exactly. So he's not a good passer, and he's somebody you can definitely take advantage of. And this should be that get right game for the Jets. And then all could be right at 1-3. And you're looking at, Dallas, who might be the worst defense in the league. That makes us actually look
Right.
not as bad. And then you go to London against Denver, who hasn't been performing up to standards. And then you come home and you face Carolina. So like things can all change really quickly, but it is just a little tough. And I'm sure we'll get to offensive stuff, but so far with the play charting, it's been kind of miserable watching Angstrand's predictability.
Yeah, well, it definitely seems as though the opposing defenses have a pretty good idea of what is coming, and then part of that is just the limitations of the personnel, like with
Mhm.
the quarterbacks that you have and the receivers um, that you have. I still, and maybe this is something that you could definitely see better at the stadium. I've watched quite a bit of condensed replay. The all 22 hasn't come out yet, but you could still see, and you can find clips on Twitter these days. It's like everyone sees the all 22 if you have social media. But you're seeing open receive Garrett Wilson open a lot, man, and
Mhm.
Tyrod just not pulling the trigger. I
Very
don't know.
first
I
play.
don't watch all 22 of other teams, so maybe there's just a lot. Maybe there's a ton of plays like that for all teams, even good teams. But I'm like, man, we're leaving a lot of meat on the bone. Brees Hall missing a couple of holes that could have been big plays. So I think some of the execution was disappointing in this game. The one thing I'll get on Engstrand for is, dude, I, I, I can't take the halfback dive on 4th and 1 anymore. And I know Tyrod checked into it. Like it can't even be an option. You have to
You just
run
got
the
to get up and
QB
run it.
sneak. You just got to get up and go. They know it's coming. You
Mhm.
voted to keep this play in place. You have two quarterbacks who are athletic. One of them is because they did it with Fields too, and Fields is in there. Fields, you have a 240-pound quarterback. You voted to keep this play, and that is probably going to be illegal soon because it's like an unwatchable thing where you have to get to like it's basically 1st and 8.5 for all the teams who want to run it. So to not do that was again like in the grand scheme of things, like oh you didn't do a QB sneak on 4th and 1 in one season of that you weren't going to be that good, but you got to start checking off some common sense boxes, and I think that's one they should check.
And I didn't get to that point in the rewatch yet on the all 22, but I'm pretty sure there was a double mug look by the linebackers. So if you're going to justify not doing a QB sneak into the double mug linebacker look, which is fine because that means there's 6 or 7 guys in your face at the line of scrimmage, you can't check out of it and go to a halfback dive into the same gap. It's a
Yeah,
larger player, sure, but like it just doesn't work like that. You
yeah.
have to check to like a bubble screen, which if you want to talk about offensive adjustments, whoever I forget how to is Grissard or something, the offensive coordinator for the Bucks,
A
he was having
Lizard or
Baker.
something or
Yeah. He was having
Lizard.
Baker throw immediately. Like his time to throw on some of those like quick screens and stuff like that. That last drive, the Jets did the same thing, a double mug look. They had trips to the right, and Baker just threw a quick
Yeah, tunnel
throw.
screen.
Exactly, and he got like 17 yards, and they were immediately in field goal position on that final drive. And it's like, why can't we do that? Like that's the stuff I don't understand.
Mhm.
Last week it was the wide receivers not blocking the DBs in the run game and Engstrand not adjusting and Fields getting killed and literally concussed. Or this week it's now that problem. So it's like Engstrand is not adjusting in real time. And I'm through the
Yeah.
first drive of all 22 offense. And so far through 2 games and 1 drive, there are 23 examples of under center snaps for this offense. Can you tell me how many of them are true drop back passes?
Maybe one or two.
0. It's all play action and runs.
Oh, well, and
And
also,
I can
dude,
figure this out, Buffalo. And I'm one of the dopiest podcasters out
first
there
of all,
on YouTube.
you guys gotta start calling me Kevin. I'm gonna die and my obituary is gonna say Buffalo Jet fan. Like, come on,
All
Christ.
right, Kevin, if I can figure that out from my house with a 3 monitor setup in South Carolina, hundreds of miles away from their facility, what do you think all their opposing teams are doing that get paid thousands of dollars a year to find this information? Well, they probably subscribe to my YouTube and get it all at the
Yeah.
A1 since day one tier for
Yeah, man.
5.99,
Yeah.
4.99, excuse me.
They've been
But
joined.
exactly, like
Sean McDermott was definitely a member for sure.
oh, they have a burner account in there with
Yeah.
like some Jets name affiliate, and yeah, 100% it's Sean McDermott. But that's what good teams do. They find the information and they exploit it. And then the good teams, like the Baltimore Ravens and the Detroit Lions, who we're about to see take the field tonight, they will adjust to the adjustments. We might adjust game to game, and then once it starts not working, we barely do that adjustment in game to make things work. And it's not just a go into halftime in that 12 minutes like Vic Fangio loves to say. Like halftime is a joke. It's every single drive. You have the pictures on the sideline. Engstrand should be sitting next to Tyrod saying, okay, these are the looks we're getting. You missed Garrett Wilson wide open on the dig route on the very first play. And then on the fourth play, you missed Tyler Johnson on the flood concept when you bootlegged right and were looking at Garrett the whole way, even though he was standing out of bounds.
Mm.
Like, there's just Tyrod
Yeah.
was missing the easiest things, and those are the adjustments in game that need to be fixed. And I don't see Engstrand doing it. So running guys open and having good schemes is all well and good, but it's not the end all be all for OCs. And the reason it's different for the Jets is because we don't execute when the guys are running open. So good teams might have two guys running open, but they at least throw it to one of them.
Mhm.
That's the difference.
Yeah, I think with Engstrand, well, and someone asked me this morning too. I mean, do some of the Aaron Glenn stuff. I'm like, it just gets to the point where when the Jets are bad, and it's like you can't even, our brains get broken because he was doing the Sean McDermott clap, which I live in Buffalo. It drives Bills fans crazy. What are you clapping for? And
Sure.
this guy is like, oh, why is you clapping? This coach is a buffoon. I'm like, bro, I have questions about this coaching staff. I'm a Jet fan like you. I've seen it. I get it, but you can't convince me you're actually angry that he was that you saw him clap for 2 seconds. And it wasn't like yeah, well, like dude, it was like, all right, well, like trying to uplift and trying to show some resolve after he looked broken at the podium the previous week. Like what to me, like I don't believe people who say like, oh, well, if we lost, but he would have done something or said something different after, it would have been all fine. Like we're just going out of our way
Yeah.
to find more pain
A
after
loss
the
is a
loss,
loss. Yeah.
more things to get angry at. It's crazy.
Sure.
But anyway, um, he was like, oh, well, what has Glenn done that's different than Salah? I'm like, through 3 weeks, nothing. But the difference is Salah didn't learn after 3 weeks, after 6 weeks, after 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, 4 years. Right. So now we're seeing like, can you learn? The guy's gonna be here for minimum 2 years if you look at Woody Johnson's history. So
Mm-hmm.
what is that, 34 games? We're 3 games in, so we're less than 10% in. So like we just got to get a bigger sample size to see if he can adjust. And I think with Engstrand, one thing with Mike LaFleur, is Mike LaFleur was a good play designer, at times a good play caller. He was not a
Mm-hmm.
good offensive coordinator and all the things that entail. It's different than
100%.
designing good plays and then just calling them into the headset like somebody doing Madden. It's different when you actually have to have okay, now this isn't working. Like, what do we do? And sometimes like these guys are like so smart they can't even. It's like, dude, they're blitzing at you. Throw the screen right there. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not rocket science. And I will give them a little bit of a pass for the first half against Buffalo because I've quite literally never seen a team do that. I've never seen a team run blitz their corners like that. So that's like a tip of the cap to McDermott. He punked a rookie staff and a reclamation project quarterback is what it is,
Mm-hmm.
happens, moves on. But you knew Todd Bowles was going to blitz like that. You knew going into the
That's
week
his MO.
like
Yeah.
he was going to do that, and he was doing the same thing through 3 quarters. And the only reason our offense found life is because he stopped doing that. If he wanted to keep doing that, we probably have another turnover, and then we lose by, double digit points. So that's what you're looking for. Like, okay, can you be different than Michael Ford? Can you show that you can make those on the fly adjustments is a big thing. And then so
Mm-hmm.
for the stat and the defensive staff as well, that's the biggest thing looking at that I think is you could point to as has to get better. I think it's a fair critique. I don't know, man. But it's at the same time, it feels like we're so close to being 2-1, but I don't know.
I know.
I don't
And
know.
it's the
It's like
sad part is that we
if
are
we are,
kind
we're
of
probably not talking about this stuff, if it's like a one fumble
exactly.
and one thing. And I don't know, man. That's why I think we'll find out a lot about this team in the next couple games.
Yeah. And I know it was only technically 23 points allowed or 22 points allowed by this
Right.
defense because of the pick six, but
Mm-hmm.
still 34, 30, and 23 is just, it's really not acceptable. You're still in the high 27, 28 range per game. Like, I know on paper it's over 30 because we let up the actual touchdown to get it to 29, but it's like the defense is just, that was the part of the team that I felt the most confident in, especially the
Mm-hmm.
last 2 years. Like, even through all the BS, it was like, okay, if they just don't like show that they're giving up on the field, I feel comfortable that like a deep shot to Sauce or even DJ Reed or Michael Carter is going to be a pass breakup or like an incomplete at best for the offense. Like, we're probably going to come away with something positive for us. And now it's like, I am so nervous every time the defense goes on the field.
Yeah.
And like, it's like, who is going to do what now
It,
that's going to make me lose my hair?
there was some Tim Boyle game. There were some like Tim Boyle games where you felt better with the defense. Like maybe the defense will score, like instead of the offense. But
Literally. Yeah.
well, how many points did the Jets end up with yesterday? So they ended up with
27.
27. So yeah, man, like 2 out of 3 weeks, you put up 27 or more points on the board and you lose 2 out of 3. I mean, that probably didn't happen. That probably hasn't happened definitely at least since 2021. Those defenses between 22 and even up through last year, like we didn't when we lost games, it wasn't because we were maybe besides the Colts game, but we didn't score 30 and lose at all. Last year, that was a new one off the top there to
And
start.
I will say this about the offense, despite how bad it was last week, for the first 2 weeks of the season, they were still top 5, excuse me, in explosive play rate. And although that number came down a lot this week with only 3 explosive plays, they're still generating explosive plays even for an offense that is void of so much personnel and pieces that we still need to figure out. So like there are things you can hang your hat on, but it's just not consistent enough for me to feel any type of confidence, whoever's at quarterback. And I don't know how you feel about Terod specifically, but I know we talked about some missed passes and some getting banged up, but I think Fields has to be the guy.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know if there was anything Tyrod could do to like take because they signed Fields for a reason, for better or worse. They're going to see if they can try and fix his deficiencies, maximize his strengths. Tyrod, I think, at the end of the day, what did the offense put up 2 field goals and 2 touchdowns, right? So out of your backup QB, that's honestly your offense give you 20 points. That's kind of what you could ask for. Unfortunately, it was the pick 6. That's really what it was with the offense.
Yeah.
And it was another play where we could talk about Tyrod's decision making there. We could talk about Garrett Wilson not working back to the ball, him not seeing Mason Taylor there. But it was an overload blitz, and the running backs all day long could not pick up that same blitz that was coming from the left B gap. And you see on that play, Braylon Allen and Myers are both blocking one guy, and then a guy comes free who's coming. You could see him coming a mile away. They're running that same blitz down there, and that guy is around Tyrod's ankles as that pass is thrown. So it was a lot. It was a lot to ask of Tyrod too. Like I think I mean, imagine if it was like a Brady Cook out there would have probably turned the ball over 6 times under that kind of heat. So I'll give Tyrod. You got to give Tyrod credit for gaming as a backup QB. I think it was an effort that looks like what you could expect from a backup quarterback. And now you move back to Fields, and hopefully you can stay healthy enough and give you a big enough sample size that you can make an informed decision on what you want to do with him going forward. I like that they played Arian Smith. Can we take an Arian Smith deep shot? The Jets did not attempt. I don't know if they attempted a pass that was like a. Well, no, they took the one to Garrett, but I don't think they've
The
attempted
Tyler
a deep
Johnson
pass to
corner route might have been the
Arian.
deepest. Yeah, the Tyler Johnson corner route might have been the deepest pass
Yeah, I
attempted
think
on the
I'm good
day.
on Tyler Johnson corner routes, to be honest, because the thing is, Arian Smith drops passes, but Tyler Johnson has 2 brutal drops in each of the last 2 games.
100%.
So, but with Smith, it's like he had a lot of yak in college. That's because he ran by everybody, and now he has whatever 20 yards of yak to the end zone because he's gone. He didn't have yak like Malachi Corley had yak at West Kentucky running through the UPS workers or whatever. So them giving him those I'm like, that's not really his game a ton. Like, just throw it to him.
It's
Throw it to him
Jamison
deep.
Williams is the style, and
Yeah,
they just
I feel
showed
that
the
Tyrod
graphic.
throws like a beautiful deep ball. I think that the fact that they didn't try as much as Arian Smith played, and you had Tyrod throw 30 passes, not one deep shot to Arian Smith is kind of criminal.
They showed the graphic just now. Detroit, Baltimore. Jamison Williams averaged like over 17 yards per catch last year, and this season he's already at 22.1. That's the style of play that Arian Smith needs to be utilized in, and that's part of it. Like Angstrom not putting his players in the best positions to win. However, I will say with Arian Smith specifically,
He's got to line up right.
He
on,
single-handedly destroyed the first drive with that illegal formation.
It was brutal, bro.
And that was the backbreaker because they were at 1st and 10 on, I believe, the 12-yard line.
Yeah.
Or
then you back it up, 2nd and 8.
You backed it up. Yeah, it was 2nd and 1 on the 17-yard line, and you get a 5-yard penalty from Arian Smith. Then on 2nd and 6, they go right back to the run. Mind you, these are both under center runs now that they ran, back-to-back under center runs, and then a 3rd and 4 shotgun pass to Garrett Wilson that was incomplete. So That's how you stall your drive. And then the next drive, Olu had a holding call. They had two immediate good plays, a 14-yard pass to Garrett and then a 14-yard run to Breece Hall. Then they came back with another 1-yard run to Breece and then a 10-yard penalty. So they went from their own 37 to Tampa Bay's 29 in 2 plays. And then they were backed up to the 38 and they end up kicking a field goal after a 3rd and 14 9-yard pickup. So it's like 2 drive-killing penalties in the beginning of this game. And I guess the complexion of the entire thing would have looked different if it was even 10-3 instead of 6-3 right in the beginning, right? If they converted one of those into a touchdown. I'm not saying the Fashanu hold would have stopped a touchdown because they were only at the 28 at the time, but they were at the 17 at 2nd and 1 when Arian Smith had the illegal formation. And that's not the first pre-snap penalty he's had where he's not lined up right. He wasn't covering the center. And that's a big issue. And Aaron Glenn was right to chew him out. So I like that he's getting used. I just don't like how they're being used. And I also just don't like the little rookie mistakes that are happening a little bit too often for me.
Yeah, and there's going to be some growing pains with him. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. Like maybe it's just how they teach their tempo. But there has been a couple times where I'm like where I'm telling Arian, I'm like, bro, move, like get to your spot, because he's kind of like hot dogging it. Like there was a play where he could have got called the second time, and the ref goes like this to him. He holds up a 2. He's like, bro, I could have called that for you twice, but I'm trying to get out of here and not have a million penalties on the day because it's already a slop fest.
And just building onto that, sorry to cut you off, but there was a point where he ran in motion, and you're not supposed to lean toward the line of scrimmage when you go in motion. And he was like kind of like 80% running. And I feel like when you go in motion, you have to go pretty quick if you're going to be on the ball, moving at the time of the snap, especially if you're running like a quick out or like
look at what Tyreek Hill does, those orbit motions. He's doing like a triangle cone full sprints, like
full sprints.
And I get it's 100 degrees out there, but I don't know, man. That was
almost
frustrating.
Leaned in and got another pre-snap penalty, but like quickly turned back out at the snap. And I'm like, bro, like there's just little tiny things it's just come on, put it together. And I don't want to harp on the other wide receivers that they didn't pick. And I'm not going to go down that whole rabbit hole of the draft wide receivers that I liked, because in 3 years I could be eating my words on Arian Smith and I want him to still work out, but it's like, it's frustrating to just see those little things happen.
Yeah, he's got to clean that up because you want to see him out there. And the offensive line, I know there's going to be some brutal, like the beat was tweeting out all these pressure numbers, and I'm like, dude, no offensive line can survive a time to throw of like 3.5 seconds and teams jailbreak blitzing every time. Like there's just no way. So now it's like, oh, Simpson has all these pressures tagged on him because he's blocking this guy, then trying to get late to this blitzer, and then that's the pressure allowed. So I will say that Olu, and what is Olu? I mean, what does he have? Like 10 starts at left tackle. He's 22 years old. So let's chill for a second. Let's not kill Olu just yet. We have to have a statute of limitations on talking about Brock Bowers. I swear to God, it's gonna be like he's gonna be like 2050, and Jeff Andrews gonna be talking about Brock Bowers still. It's crazy. And this
I had somebody telling me Tyler Warren today, and then I saw a stat that Armand Membu is graded out as the 4th best tackle, not just right tackle, amongst all tackles in the league right now in pass block win rate. So it's like, I hate that discussion, dude. Premier positions over the second least valuable position on your offense.
Well, here's the thing, like Tyler Warren's a beast too, man. I wish we had 2 first-round picks. You know what I mean? But to me, like if you get a good guy, you get a good guy. And I will say this about Warren has been better right away than I thought he would. Membu's been better right away than I thought he would. I thought he'd be a little bit more developmental. Pass pro Membu has been nails. He's been Membu has arguably been their best offensive lineman through 3 weeks. So Membu's been awesome. But I also will say that the tackles that we were pining over, the day 2 tackles where it's like he's going to be here, have been double caked up mega ass booty
Ariante
cheeks.
Ursery? Ariante Ursery, the guy that they wanted to pair with Tyler Warren.
He's going to get CJ Stroud murdered. And Ursery is 2 years older than Membu, by the way.
Tyler Warren would only be able to play blocking snaps in this Jets offense if Ariante Ursery was our right tackle. That's how
you have to play Red Rover, come on over with Ursery double teaming everyone. And Ozzy Trapillo has been a healthy scratch. 2nd round pick. He hasn't even dressed yet. So it's like, all right, like
I get we love these guys, but sometimes
keeping that in perspective.
see the NFL product first. And
Yeah.
Membu's going up against some tough competition. I mean,
Yeah.
TJ Watt in week 1, I get it. They're kind of helping him a little bit more. And that kind of goes into Fashanu having a little bit of struggles because he's asked to do more one-on-one work than I think
Mhm.
Membu has. But I mean, for the most part, I feel like these guys are okay. And like you said, time to throw correlating with offensive line play. Like that's the biggest like killer to me. Like I will avoid all analytic stats if your time to throw is that egregiously high and the
Mhm.
offensive line does hold up. I'm counting in my head on some of these plays. 1, 2, 3. And Tyrod's standing back there in such a clean pocket. And then all of a sudden he's just like, I gotta go. And he
Yeah.
runs. And I'm like,
Anything
but if
after
you wait,
2.75 seconds is not on the O-line.
exactly. So if he just waits a couple not a couple seconds, but if he just waits a tick to get out of the pocket and moves up or shifts to his right instead of just trying to bail, then that guy's going to come open. And a lot of times the guy was already open. I saw him staring down Mason Taylor. It was second and 12. So I'm like, okay, get half of that back. Like AG used to say, get the dirty 5. Just keep getting it back half at a time, and you will get the first down. So then you put yourself in 3rd and 6. No, he decides to scramble, and he runs for like, I think 2 yards on a scramble. So instead of 3rd and 6 potentially after the Mason Taylor catch or more after the yards after catch, it could have been 3rd and short, and then it's 3rd and 10. Like you're not doing anything, and then that safety blitz comes, and Tyrod's almost getting folded in half. So there's a lot of things that the O-line is not responsible for that I think
Mhm.
the analytics are kind of blaming them for. Like they were number 1 in week 1, and it showed. They were number 32 PFF ranked, I think, in week 2. That didn't correlate. And then this
Good
week, I'm
top
sure
off.
they're going to get killed with the grades and the pressure stats. Like there's 27 pressures, but like how many of those are actually like real pressures or Tyrod creating the pressure by running towards the guy or, it's after 2.5 seconds. I don't know how they calculate pressures. I guess it's within
Well,
2.5 seconds.
there's no time to it. Like there are some stats that will differentiate quick pressure from non-quick pressure, but also
Right.
if it's a quick pressure because the defense blitzed 8 guys and you
And they
only
only had
have
6
6
in to protect.
blockers, like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen games where it's like, oh, we can't block the other team when it's been Carter Warren and Max Mitchell and Billy Turner, Xavier Newman out there. That just hasn't been the case to me, with the exception of look, Joey Bosa came for blood. Joey Bosa put some work
Yeah.
in on both of our young tackles. He had
He
himself a
did.
day, but other than that, I think they've held their own. Olu is definitely look. I think Yaya Diaby and Highsmith, they've probably you'd say they won their day
Mhm.
against Olu, but I think it's just the scarcity at that position. Even if you can get him to like competent play, like the drop off between him and like someone like Broderick Jones is just it's so massive that
Mhm.
even if he can be a above average left tackle. Is that better than what or something else you could have got? Maybe not, but to me, it's just like, is it a hit? If he can be an above average left tackle, it'll be a hit. So
Mhm.
we'll see with them. It's a pretty young team overall. I think somebody just told me they're the second youngest team in the
Yeah, I
NFL.
thought they were
You know,
the
how
second
about Juwan
youngest.
Briggs, man? How about we got Juwan Briggs,
Mhm.
positives,
Mhm.
best punt. We got like the best punter in football in McNamara and the best gunner in Quantez Stiggers, baby. Quantez Stiggers, Hall of Fame gunner.
Dude, he made
Qua-
some plays. And especially Chris Banjo, man, shout out to him. I mean,
yeah, the
you have
special
your
teams
guys
is good.
prepared. He has his guys prepared. I will not, like there's nothing wrong I can say about that unit, especially when you hear AG talking about how they want to utilize Will McDonald. And at first they had him on field goal block coming from the edge. And then they're like, well, let's utilize him more in the middle. And it pays off in a huge way. And I know there's speculation about if he made contact with the long snapper on the play. I thought you could only like not like put your hand on him and use him, but like if your toe like frisks him. Is that also a penalty? I'm not sure. There was
I thought it
Bucks
was like
reporters.
you can't leapfrog him.
You
Like you
can't like
can't.
leapfrog him, but like they
Yeah,
were
I
like
think
somebody
you
was
can
like
straight up
pointing
jump over him though. I think.
right, but somebody was pointing out that like his
Oh,
toe grazed the offensive lineman. I'm like, I don't think that's the penalty, but
no.
like they're still utilizing Will McDonald in the best way on special teams. So I can't say anything bad about Banjo. And
No,
Folk has
kickers have
made
been
all his
good.
kicks.
Special teams have been good.
Yep.
I don't know about Braylon Allen returning kicks.
Well, they got rid of
Braylon Allen
Isaiah
and
Williams doing it, and he was awful.
yeah,
So
all their kick return. They have like all their kick returners have like a 4.7 40-yard dash.
they
I'm like,
miss
all
Keeney
right,
and they miss Josh Reynolds, which is the most ridiculous
yeah.
things to say
We
3
miss, we
weeks into the
miss
season.
Keenan. Isaiah Davis is funny. Well, he's like a battering ram though. He'll get hit like the 25, and he just kind of squeaks out towards the 37, and you're like, all right, I guess we'll take it. That rule change definitely did work because now all these drives are starting close to the 40.
Yep.
But
If you get a touchback, you need 22 yards to attempt a 60-yard field goal.
now all kickers make like 57 yarders.
100%. So
So
like you're saying roughly 25 to 28 yards
to
you
get
need
into
to
scoring
pick up to
range.
get into scoring range. Obviously, the NFL loves their points. So the kickoff rule with getting to the 35 and then you mix it with the K-ball rule, it's like we'll see a lot of points. And why can't we get 2.5 first downs, Buffalo? Or excuse me, Kevin.
My boomer take is I just like the ball starting at the 20. I like the math. It checks out for me. I like long
Yeah.
scoring touchdown drives. Like I like when
Yes.
the team gets to get the ball at the, you get the ball at the 8, you got to go 90 yards. So,
Yes.
but whatever, if they want more kickoffs, that's cool. But when I was a kid, Dylan, the football came back out to the 20 and we
Yeah.
walked the school uphill both ways. So
I don't know if you're a fantasy guy, but I would eliminate kickers from all leagues in fantasy because like
yeah.
especially if you rank a 50 plus yarder as 5 points, like that's just egregious. Like you can't be swinging. I think Brandon Aubrey had 4 or 5 kicks and none of them were shorter than 46 yards in the one game that they won against the Giants. It's like that's egregious. That guy has like 20 something fantasy points, and I get nobody cares about fantasy, but it's like they're changing games in a way that like I don't think of the draft effect that this is going to have. Like you might draft a kicker in the 4th round with a quote unquote premium, top 125 pick because you feel like your offense can get you 30 yards. And now you have the next version of Brandon Aubrey or whoever that next young guy is that's up and coming. There's no longer just a Justin Tucker and everybody else. I mean, obviously he's no longer in the NFL, but
Yeah,
it's
but
like
at the same time, if they're so commonplace, maybe you wouldn't even need to
that's the thing though too is can you find enough guys on the street that have a
not that
boomer of a
long ago,
leg?
a 50 yarder was considered long.
Yeah, you would be
That was,
nervous at like 48 yards, I
yeah,
felt like.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, last
McLaughlin kicked like a 43-yarder to end the game, and I'm just like, God damn it. Like I think his back foot was like on the end of the face mask of the Buccaneers helmet logo at midfield. And I'm like, I feel like he's got it. It's like,
oh yeah, no, the only shot that we had was if Will McDonald blocked it again.
did it again.
That was the only shot. Like it's gonna go right down.
Yeah.
Every kicker against the Jets is like 100%
And that's
automatic.
their 4th miscue on special teams. They've had 2 missed field goals, a blocked punt in that Monday night game against Houston in week 2,
Oh, the
and
Bucks
then they had the missed or the
yeah,
blocked
Bucks.
field goal. So it's like our special teams versus their bad special teams. That was the area to take advantage, but it's like that's not enough to win you the game.
Yeah, I'm looking at this Miami game, and to me, it's so simple because it's really just a matter of can you tackle Devon Achane, and really, and the thing is, when if you over pursue him, he's going to make you pay in a much more severe way than Bucky Irving, because he could take what he's in, he's got in the gym range for sure. He's a problem, and then I think Tua is still capable of enough of a passer where he can run the fine Brandon Stevens with Waddle and Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And can you do something to mitigate that? Honestly, the Jets should score 24-ish points on the Dolphins. Putrid. Their back 7 is worse than ours. These might be the 2 worst. We are going to play 2 defenses in the next. Wait, it's Miami,
Yep.
then
Back to
Dallas.
back. Yep, back to back.
Yeah, we're going to play 2 defenses that are even worse than ours.
Yeah. And if we're scoring 27 in losses, these are games where I expect 25 plus points, like you're about to probably say.
So yeah, I would say score 24 points. You have to force a turnover, like because that's the problem with the
I think we're the
defense
only
too,
team
is
that hasn't.
probably are. The defense hasn't done anything to help the offense out. We're not playing complementary football. They very rarely get 3 and outs in the first possession where you get it, and then you get a punt where you can get decent field position. We almost never do that. And we haven't forced a turnover. So we're never like starting in good field position. So you got to force at least 1 turnover, tackle Devon Achane, take away to his first read, because after that, now it's unfortunate. It's because of his concussion, but after his first read, now he completely panics. He sees ghosts. So they're with Miami and their limited offensive line and where their quarterback is at right now. The Jets, especially if Jermaine Johnson can play in this football game, like Steve, this is a Steve Wilkes like show us, brother. Like I don't know what else to say, man. If he gets tuned up by Miami, like I don't know. I'm I'm a believer in patience, but I also think as fans sometimes we can not like there's an opportunity cost to waiting and not doing things as well.
Mhm.
There's also risks there. Like the Jets, for instance, when they re-upped with Robert Saleh, they passed on one of the greatest coaching free agencies in history. Now maybe none of those guys wanted to work for Woody Johnson, but like you maybe could hire you could promote somebody who's got some ideas on your staff who thinks they could be the next Flores and who's hearing the play call and he's like, bro, another cover one blitz and he's got all these ideas to run cover six in disguise and maybe that
Mhm.
guy's in the wings on your staff and you're going to keep rolling out Wilkes there in the sake of patience and we don't make rash decisions and it's like, dude, you there's a balance between that and just you are not showing that you can do this. You were out of the league last year. You're probably going to be out of the league next year. So it's like, do we fire you at the end of the year or do we fire you now? Is going to be the question pretty soon if the defense doesn't show up in Miami.
Yeah, there's definitely like some arrogance and stubbornness in your play calling that can get you fired. Obviously, there's belief
Well,
in
and
the
bro, I'm
system.
sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
I
Yeah.
want to add this because I want before I forget because I want your opinion on this too. Him saying like it's nothing schematic is crazy. Him saying like there's nothing schematic to it is crazy because that means he's going to keep doing it. If he just is waiting for the players to start playing better and he's not going to adjust anything schematically
Mhm.
is wild because that's different than Glenn's answers. That's different than Tanner Engstrand's answers. Says Tanner Engstrand after the first game when they scored 30 points, he was listing all these things he could do differently. Aaron Glenn at the podium,
Mhm.
all these things that went wrong that he needs to do better this morning. And then Wilkes is like, well, it's just they just got to tackle good. It's like, yeah, they do, but you you have to change something, man. Anyway,
It's
yeah.
it's amazing that the guy who's in charge of designing the scheme is saying, "Oh, well, it's not the scheme's fault." Like that is the most
Yeah.
dumb answer. And for a team that has done nothing but try to reverse the trend of unaccountability, he's just like following it up. Like he's doing the same old Jets thing and not taking accountability and like not even saying like I need to put my guys in a better position. I feel like that hasn't even really been said by Wilkes enough, even if you're not going to end up doing it. So yeah, it is totally fair to say that his arrogance and stubbornness in the play calling can lead to him being fired. But you also, I get there's an element of you've been putting this in place for months on end, and the guys are, designed, not necessarily designed, but your scheme is designed in a certain way. But you have to be able to look in the mirror, be honest with yourself, and say, hey, this isn't working. We are professionals, and if I don't want to be looking for a job next year, I have to adjust. Whether that means showing a one high look pre snap and rolling to two high safeties, or doing that and also bracketing Tyreek Hill with Brandon Stevens and a safety and allowing Sauce to, shadow the second best wide receiver in Jalen Waddle. Maybe they do the Bill Belichick,
Mhm.
defense
Or
for a
some more
couple
twists
games.
and turns. They're at the bottom of
Anything,
the league in that.
literally any difference at this point from a
Yeah.
fan perspective would make me say he cares about his job. Running the
Mhm.
same things over and over again and putting your guys in these high liability situations is not fair to the players. And then we are going to sit up here and talk about how the back seven has 40 whatever million, 50 whatever $1 million invested into it in their top players, and they're not playing well. So it's like, I don't want to have to do that every week. And I feel like Salah had most of these guys, and I don't want to keep comparing, but it felt like when they did make the changes, things were working. So what's to say Wilkes can't do the same? I'm not ready to say go fire him, but I want to see wholesale changes, and I'm not going to stop talking about it when it comes to Wilkes. And I know it kind of sounds like I'm beating a dead horse, but you need to show me something that says I care about keeping my job. And right now, I just don't really see that from Wilkes specifically. Angstrand, yes, 100%. He's taking accountability. He's trying to find the right answers and adjustments. And AG, right after the game, I didn't love his thoughts, but then this morning I thought he walked it back and he talked about the negatives and how they're going to talk about it. So I'm glad that, it's kind of a mixed bag from the two other guys at the podium, but Wilkes, it's just been a lot of negatives, and on the field is just dreadful.
Yeah, and we'll see. Look, I will admit I was very like not thrilled with Jeff Ulbrich early in his Jets tenure when they had like the worst
Right.
defense in the NFL.
Until
And
Quentin
then a
screamed
year
at White
later,
Cotton.
Yeah, and then a year later, they have top 5, 10 defenses a couple of years in a row, and now he's a defensive coordinator in Atlanta. And I think, well, that this past week they got shellacked, but the first couple of weeks they did okay defensively.
Mhm.
It's just, to me, if you ask me right now, like, let's say Glenn turns the team around. Let's say we know that, okay, he's the guy, he's our established coach, and you were to ask me, like, okay, 10 years, whatever, 10 years from now, he's still the coach. Like, was Engstrand a part of it? Yeah. Was Banjo a part of it? Yeah. But I think Steve Wilkes would have probably, fallen
Mhm.
fallen by the wayside. I think the idea of hiring Wilkes was, you have somebody who's been there, done that, so Glenn can be the CEO coach. But whatever, I don't know. We probably
Yeah.
talked about Steve Wilkes for way too long. But
Oh, of course. But
yeah,
if you
man,
come out
my
of this season with 3 out of 4 of your coaches and you feel stronger about them
yeah,
than at least the last regime going into their second year, I mean, I understand people gave them too much patience maybe with Saleh and that regime, but if you feel good about Banjo and Engstrand and a little bit better on Wilkes or Glenn, excuse me, than maybe you feel right now based on what the end of the season result looks like in its totality. And Wilkes is the only, weak link, and we can say, okay, 2 out of 3 coordinators are really good, and we
Mhm.
feel like we have the head coach in place. And now, if we just get a good defensive or better defensive coordinator, and then we go find that quarterback because it looks like we just don't have one right now,
Yeah,
then you have those pieces. And I think it was you who even said head coach, OC, quarterback is like 85% of the job. You can get away with everything else if you have those three. And the Chiefs kind of abused that
yeah,
policy for a long time, and now it's kind of coming to fruition. They're 1-2 now, but it took a win against the Giants team that
yeah.
is just as
They'll still
ugly
be
as
in
the
the
Giants.
divisional round. Those
Exactly. That's the thing, because they
they'll be
have
there.
those
They'll be
three
hanging
things in
around.
place. Exactly.
Yeah, man. Even more than GM. Like, dude, I don't know. Do the Chiefs have an amazing GM? I mean, I don't
No,
like.
no, I don't
He's
think so.
good. I think he's good.
Yeah,
I
of
don't think
course.
he's
Like,
out of
what's the
this
coaching
world.
influence on the GM? What's the scouting
Right.
staff influence on the
And
GM? I
then
understand
the
he makes the
coaching and the
call.
quarterback elevates
Yes.
all those other players too.
It's
So
similar with us. AG is the quasi GM, right? Like Muji is
mhm.
more so getting players that AG likes. And I don't want to say Muji is a bad GM or unqualified to be a GM, but when you're up at the podium and your right hand man and Robbie Patton can't remember who our second and third round picks are, it's a bad look
Yeah.
on the GM. But it also makes you think that it's the head coach that's doing the GMing as well. And maybe it's not to the fullest degree of Bill Belichick, but there's going to be some things where the GM is like looked at greatly, like the Phillips and Briggs stuff, and then the wide receiver 2 stuff. But I feel like it's also coaching staff that's making that decision as well.
Yeah, I think, well, and also with the roster, to me, I know people look at it and they're like, Tyler Johnson's our wide receiver too. How could you ever let this happen? To me, for this season specifically, and I know it is upsetting because it's not even like you have a bad wide receiver too. It's like you have maybe not even a wide receiver 4. Like, it goes right to wide receiver 5s, maybe, with Reynolds hurt and where Smith is at as a rookie. So I get that. But
Mm-hmm.
to me, it's like there were going to be holes. So it's more about, do you hit on the investments that you make early on? That's really all it's about. Like, wherever you want to, however many guys you want to draft at what position, like, once you get to be more where you're closer to competing, and then you have to really be more targeted towards filling certain holes, then that's a conversation for next season and the season after that. But really, it's like, is AC Thomas good? Like, is Mason Taylor good? Is Armand Membu good? Is Brandon Stevens good? No, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what matters to me. I'm not really harping on, oh, they didn't get around to edge behind Jermaine or wide receiver. Like, it's just about, do you hit on the investments that you make, which is why I think we saw some encouraging things this weekend from the draft class, and then some not encouraging things from the veterans in the secondary. But with
Mm-hmm.
your point to Glenn, I do think, and it's early on, and we'll see with Woody, because I promise you, Dylan Tereman, I don't know if it was my tweet, because several tweets about it went around about Michael Clemens and how he has no stats. I know Michael Nania put one out that went viral. I promise you,
It was your tweet. It was the
somebody,
O'Leary
yeah,
graphic.
somebody, Brick or somebody, showed that Teran Glenn, and that is why he said at the presser, if
Mm-hmm.
someone shows you a stat, that is why. So there's still going to be that with the Jets as part of it. Can't convince me otherwise. That's why he had to address it. Just like that's like they made him bench Tony Adams because of an article or whatever. But it was so
Yeah.
hard to parse through the last regime. Like, what was Douglas? What was Saleh? What was, like, who was that, Aaron's decision or Woody's decision or Douglas's decision or Saleh's decision? And honestly, Saleh at the end of it, he almost felt like the fourth guy. It was like Woody, and then like Douglas and Rodgers on a tier, and then Salah was just kind of like along for the ride. Like Salah didn't want to fire
Yeah.
Michael Flores. Salah
Fifth
didn't
if you count
want
Brick.
Hackett.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure everybody wanted Rodgers because it kind of made sense at the time, but
Sure.
like you kind of stripped away the leadership of your head coach with all those
Mhm.
decisions, and then you wonder why he's not. I don't know. It's like they didn't do it the right way. So
And
now the way Glenn speaks, he's like, I'm not trading Bruce Hall. Like he speak and Salah always deferred roster
to the
questions
GM.
to the
Yep.
GM. Glenn does not do that. Glenn speaks as if he is the judge, jury, executioner, and he was the one. He said, "I told Aaron Rodgers we're going in a different like direction, no matter however you might want to feel about that. Like that's not the
Mhm.
point. The point is he is the one that is making these decisions. So and it's kind of nice because now you have somebody where it's like, okay, either he can do it or he can't. And there's
Mhm.
not really that much else to parse up the blame pie. Obviously, Woody is always going to be the top of the pyramid as the owner, but Glenn seems to be the front man for this band, for better or worse.
Yeah, and sometimes you see that with ownership when they go with the new regime is they try to go with the exact opposite of what they had in their last coach. And when we hear the messaging from Woody talking about how there was just a lack of trust in the staff that he put in place, or I guess that he says Christopher put in place while he was the ambassador, it's like, okay, now he wants to go get somebody that he trusts. So AG would immediately come top of mind in the candidacy portion of the offseason. And then you get into the season of it, and all you hear about from Wilkes and guys like Mike Tannenbaum who helped hire AG is his relationship with the owner. So it was clear that he felt better with the trust portion of AG like tenfold over Salah, and he was able to pull that leadership from Salah after years, of course, but it didn't feel like it was ever really Salah's gig full time as the head man in charge. Now we
No.
have that head man in charge, a head coach. So it is the exact opposite as Robert Saleh, even if it isn't a veteran offensive mind, because Saleh was a rookie defensive mind, and that's why people said opposite. So it's opposite in a different way. He's an actual CEO overlooking the entire team, offense, defense, special teams, but he's also the head man in charge no matter what. So like there's polar opposites between him and Salah, even if the coaching looks completely different. So that's more of where I think, Woody's thought process could have been with all that.
Yeah, it's and personality wise, he's trying to like, Salah maybe more happy go lucky. Glenn is a little bit more like
Spark
curmudgeon-y.
pluggy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's pivoted though. You could tell like somebody talk to him, and maybe it was a mentor like Porcells or maybe the PR team, because I thought the week 2 at the pressures and podiums deserved some criticism, but then
Mhm,
the week 3, him doing the exact opposite and people
mhm,
still freaking out about it. It's like, bro, let's just call it what it is. They're 0-3, and that's why we're mad, and that's okay. It's fine to be mad if your team is 0-3. You don't have to cheer on losses, but
mhm.
let's not, go to a restaurant and the food is bad, and then you're like, you know what? I don't like the art. And the waitress is kind of ugly. It's like that's not necessary, man. Let's just talk about the food. Like we don't gotta do all that. Like let's just have it be about the meal, right? We need a better
Right.
meal.
So what
Dylan,
did you think about AG's comments to Samini then about the quarterback situation? Because I know that the clip has been going around quite a bit
can
this
you refresh my
morning.
memory on that one?
Samini asked him if Fields is cleared, will he be the starter? And him and Glenn went back and forth, and Glenn said something about, media assuming, and Samini even framed the question around like, I don't want to assume, so I want to be as clear as possible. But when Fields is cleared, is he your starter? And then he like kind of rebutted, and then they went back and he finally said, we brought in Fields to be the starter. So like he didn't commit to Fields being the starter, but he also didn't necessarily say it was Tyrod's job either. And it felt like he used a lot more words and rebuttals with Samini than he necessarily needed to. And but I did like that he walked back the morning press conference as opposed to the immediately following the game. And maybe that's some of the former player mentality in him where they're just hot right after the game. I feel like Vrabel does fall victim to that as well, right? He
Yeah.
just looks at reporters and he's like, "Are you seriously asking me that question right now? Like,
Yeah, he
we
was
just watched,
embarrassed. It was his
we just watched the
first.
game. Come on." So like, yeah, I can get it from both sides, but it felt like he was a little bit more combative with Samini about the Fields question than anything else.
Oh, he hates Samini. He definitely hates Samini. It's kind of
It's
funny to me.
wild.
Like
Yeah.
it's like there's like two old bitter neighbors like
It's like
going back
Manish and
and
Joe
forth at
Douglas
it.
all over again.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does not like Samini. Well, I think was Samini covering the team when he played? It's
Yes.
probably pretty
Yes.
close. So yeah, so he's known Rich for a long time. Um I mean, besides it being kind of funny, like I think if you're Glenn, like I don't know, like there have been a couple times where I'm like, okay, coach, like you could just, I don't know, you could just answer it. Like the one lady was like,
Yes.
hey, do we get an update on Fields' concussion? And he was like, shut up. No, he didn't say that, but he was like, he just didn't just like, it's like, I don't know, man. She's just trying to like get something for her paper so she can like pay her mortgage or whatever. Like you can answer the question.
For
But
real, yeah.
nah, yeah, man. I mean, I think a lot of that stuff is things that if we won the game, we're not talking about. I think that's really what it
100%.
comes down to, man. I think maybe like there's a 10% where coaches just kind of lose their mind at the. I did think the week 2 it was necessary, like it was worth discussing because I didn't even watch it. I was
Mhm.
listening. I was listening to Connor Rogers post game, and he mentioned it, and he was like, "Hey, you can't do that because if you give the media no answers, they have to go to the players." And Connor's pretty good at like pulling apart things that mattered and things that are just fodder for us fans to get our worked up about. So when he
For
mentioned
sure.
that, I was like, "All right, let me go watch it." And he said I have to watch the tape a million times. But this week I thought it was much better. Like he just gave straight up answers. He was like, we had Baker in our grasp. We got to make sure we get him on the ground.
Mhm.
Oh, did you take advantage of the offensive line guys being out? He's like, well, we only had one sack, but we did force 7 holding penalties. So that is an impact. Like he was just giving, and he was still kind of a little like, not Mr. Friendly, which who cares? Neither
Mhm.
was Bill Belichick, the great, most accomplished coach of all time, kind of a Brady merchant, but whatever. So it was like normal. It was definitely normal, and he just answered their questions, took the bullets, was trying to be uplifting because if you go out there and it's like if he same thing with Steve Wilkes, we can't in the same breath. At least me, like I'm critical of Steve Wilkes because he's saying it's not the scheme, like it's not me. If Glenn goes out there and like shreds the players publicly, then he's deflecting blame away from himself. Like there's
Yes.
no matter what he does, he doesn't say enough. He says too much. He's too happy. He's
Mhm.
too mean. If they're losing, people are gonna jump all over him. And to be honest, I've never seen more hyper analysis of a coach's every move than Glenn. It's been kind of insane, and that's not me defending
Mhm.
them being 0-3. It's just an observation of like,
Yeah, every single
guys,
move is, like, taken with, like,
yeah.
the biggest magnifying glass over top of it, like, everybody's
Like, it
trying to, like.
wasn't that way with Salah. Like, at Salah at
No.
the end, like, the running the stairs became a meme because he'd been losing for 3.5 years. But
Right.
it wasn't week 2 and people were clipping Salah, like, saying, "Oh, this guy's a loser. This guy's a bozo, fire him." It's like, dude,
They never
it's
there's a lot of fans that never really gave Glenn a chance,
no.
and even if he wasn't your preferred candidate, once they hired him, it felt like in the spring and summer there was a more, the pendulum was swinging with the fan base to get behind him, and maybe that was just like, maybe this is just the loud minority that's doing the whole fire Glenn thing, but it does seem like the discourse
Yes.
this morning around him dancing and clapping is like a negative thing. It's like, okay, the dance
Well,
was the most passion and like energy the entire sideline showed all day. And I feel like when that stuff happens, like I think about the Saquon Barkley jumping over the Jaguars defender backwards. You
yeah,
watch the clips of the sideline.
they're going
Every
crazy.
single player was like, "Whoa, my god!" And like they didn't even score on the play. It was just a play. It's a great play, but like Aaron Glenn was going crazy on the sideline, and like
Yeah.
we need more of that for this
He
team.
just
And if it has to be generated by the head coach, and that's why I called him a spark plug, that's completely fine because the players aren't doing it themselves. Salah wasn't doing it on the field, and the
well,
players still weren't doing it for themselves.
Salah we gotta win some games, man. We gotta win some
Oh,
games. So we're not
100%,
talking about
dude.
this,
hundred percent.
but if we're gonna talk about it, I think the number one, Devonte Adams came here last year and he said it was the most depressing, like lowest upbeat, lowest amount of
Mhm.
celebrations and like positive vibes on a sideline he's ever experienced. And he was coming directly from the Raiders, who had like an interim coach,
Yep.
and were terrible. So he came from the Raiders and he said it was like bad morale vibes. Um, So yeah, they're turning up on the side. That's what I was doing in my living room. Whatever move that coach was,
Oh
we
yeah,
got to
there
we
was
got
a
to
tweet
clean it
about
up a
that.
little bit, coach.
There was a tweet
We got to
about
get
that.
in
Like
the lab and work it out. The form of his dance move. We got to button it up a little bit. But I like the energy. But here's the thing too. Salah was pounding his chest, fired up when the team was doing well. When anything was bad happened or a player made a mistake, he reverted into a completely like he was like Marcus Aurelius. He was like, I have whatever. I have control over my thoughts and I find this strength through this or whatever. Like he said no words.
Mhm.
But Glenn will do both. Glenn is like he's just animated. You f up, he's gonna scream at you. You
Arian
do
Smith.
well, he's gonna turn up with you. So we've literally complained about the exact opposite of these things. That's just breaking my
Mhm.
brain. And you say that, and people are like, "Oh, so you like being 0-3? You want to lose forever?" It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? What
Yeah.
are you talking about? It's like,
Yeah.
oh well,
Yeah.
Sean McDermott claps, but he's won 5 straight divisions. It's like, yeah, exactly. So it's about the results. It's not about the clap. Like my God, I'm losing, and it's my fault because I'm delving into. I should just ignore it. But I was like, guys, are we real? Is this really the topic of discussion? Like the
Yeah.
clap and him dancing on the
Yeah. The
sidelines? I mean, that
the
would have
all
been awesome.
22
The
hasn't been
legendary
out
clip if we
yet.
won.
Yeah, the back pages haven't been fully dried of the ink. The all 22 is not even out, and they're already like getting on him for like these little antics. And like, I get it. It's not the best look after your third loss in a row to start your regime, but multiple things can be true that right now it's not the best looking team, and that also these guys could work out and be the future of this team. So like, let's just not, write everything off after 12 quarters of football, even if, we just got to see changes. And like you said, the wins will come, but there needs to be changes before those wins can happen, because you can't keep doing what it is you're doing both offensively and defensively and think that you're going to find a win, because it's just not going to happen.
Well, I'll say this too, and I hope people can understand the difference here. I I'm not saying you have to be a good little fanboy and it's all sunshine and rainbows and worship Aaron Glenn and he's the guy because he played here and ignore and look, when we were doing our coaching preferences, Glenn wasn't high on my list. Nothing against him. I just wanted somebody who has done the job before, and if
Yeah.
they haven't, I wanted to lean offense. That
Yep.
was just my preference. So,
He
but
started fifth for me. Yep.
yeah, I mean that's totally fine, and I think if you felt that way and you have been proven wrong, that's totally fine. But in this market, like when we do those things where we clip him up and you're making fun of the head coach and you have a big platform, you're doing this, and then the owner is very, very susceptible to outside noise. So the owner is like telling, oh, the coach, oh, but memes of NFL.com and all of Jets Twitter, it's trending that you did this dance and people want to fight and people are saying fire Glenn. And now Glenn has to be like, okay, now I have to change my mannerisms. And he can't even, and that's why nobody wants to friggin' be here. I'm sorry. Like that is part of it. It doesn't mean your fans are bad or it's the fans' fault. I'm not that the team hasn't won in 15 years. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that is a unique challenge that you can't tell me Duval Nation that's happening if Liam Cohen's starts 0-3 or whatever. Like it's just a unique thing that's like, all right, is this part of it? I guess in the media, like that is a thing, man. That is a thing
Speaking
with the New York media.
socials and stuff like that, can we both agree that the next time the Bills beat an Aaron Glenn led team, that will be part of their like win montage video that the social team posts?
Yeah,
It's always going to happen, and that's fine. But as long as he doesn't, he just needs to stay consistent, right? He doesn't, because then it's going to come off like it's an act, and you can't. You just have to be himself, and that is him just being himself on the sideline. So, like I said,
I
I
hope he
can't.
does a cartwheel. I hope he does a cartwheel when they score if they kick a field goal on the first drive in Miami.
Oh my gosh! I mean,
I hope he leans into it.
right, and like that's the thing, is like you just have to make sure that it's not, in bad taste that he did that. Like I agree. I said it earlier. I should say that I think that was the most energy on the sidelines, and that's the thing that we need on this team. Like it's not a bad thing that he's happy for his guys, and they talked about putting him in the right position to make that type of play. So it's just little things like that
Right, it
where it's
wasn't a
like,
random play. They saw a vulnerability and they used the guy's
exactly,
skill set to take advantage of it.
yeah.
So
So I
he's
mean,
fired up. He's happy because they probably talked about this all week. They're like, "Hey, man, if this opportunity presents itself, and then it actually like works out and you take the
Mm-hmm.
lead, like that's freaking awesome, man. He's pumped up for Banjo. Like that's cool. Like I don't know. Like I'm sure if he could have it back, but he's like
No,
a
I
rookie
think he
head
would do it
coach. He's
again.
seeing a big play that he could potentially get his first win. Like
Yeah, I think
I,
he would have done it again,
that's
and like you
not
said,
that big of a deal.
maybe with a little bit better rhythm if he got a chance to redo it,
Yeah.
because he looked like
Yeah.
me after 10 drinks on Saturday night down in Tampa, just
Yeah.
dancing through the club.
Yeah, those knees are not as nimble as they were in his playing days for sure.
No.
Oh man, what
But
is that?
he did run faster than Mike Vrabel did. Remember Vrabel trying to run with the kick returner on the
Remember
sidelines and
Rex Ryan on Sean Green's touchdown in New England?
awful.
Salah had a pretty good 40 on Xavier Gibson's walk-off punt a couple
Yeah.
years ago.
Mike
He got
Vrabel had
down
like
there. It
3
was
steps with the kick returner, but AG was like pretty fast with it. Like he was not
well,
terrible.
actually, we got to find this out because AG and as a player, he was sub 4.40. He was like 4.38. So does Aaron Glenn have the fastest 40 time of any NFL? Like, where does he rank among NFL head coaches who were players who ran a 40?
Yeah, he ran a 4.39, and you have to think
This
there's a
is
lot of offensive coaches. So like
yeah,
you would think like former quarterbacks. So they're probably in like the
mhm,
4.7s, 4.8s.
right.
That's a good point. How many former players are there in the league that are a coach? Like Raheem
Vrabel, but he's
Morris,
not a fast
Vrabel.
guy.
Yeah, he's a linebacker. There's no way. Yeah,
I mean,
dude, that's a
Kevin
good
O'Connell
question.
was like a backup quarterback.
This is like the
I mean,
alternative to the head coach Royal Rumble
yeah.
conversation, the head coach 40 time conversation.
And then is Moogie the tallest GM? I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's got to be. He's got to be.
I'm
He's like
still convinced
6'8".
he's not real. I think he's two people on top of each other in like a trench coat and maybe like an AI or something. I don't know. I don't think
His
Moogie's real.
mugshot, no, I guess mugshot. His like
Yeah.
screenshot for the Jets page, it looks like a mugshot. They all do, but people posting that after 2 weeks, like saying like he needs to go. It's like, all right, come on, guys. Like,
I think the
I
one thing is that's inbounds is the Steven signing, but everything
sure,
else, it's like we got to give it a hot second, probably. Most
100%.
things.
Yeah.
I honestly thought Cisco had been decent in man coverage. He's got some decent man coverage reps. He's just, man,
Mhm.
that tackle where he took out three of his own defenders, I can't unsee it. I can't unsee it, man.
There are individual glimmers with like each player on the defense, and then it just goes away so quickly after like the big blunder, and it's so
Mhm.
unfortunate.
Tough. So, are we beating the Dolphins, man?
I hope so. I projected them to win in my preseason prediction. That's how we got to 2-2. Obviously, we'd be getting to 1-3. So I'm still a game behind on the prediction. So you have to show competitiveness. You weren't competitive in your first divisional game against the Bills.
Yeah.
The Patriots and the Dolphins are the other two teams in the division that you could look at from a talent perspective, a coaching perspective, and say, hey, we actually have a chance against these guys. We're not going to get boat raced 30-3. Mitchell Trubisky is not going to throw for more yards on one play than our quarterback throws in his entire time in the game. And you got to hope that, unfortunately, we're at the point where we got to hope that the miscues for the other teams start stacking up. And Tua is not the check down Tua where our drones can't get to Devon Achan and like all the things that we talked about earlier. So we're
Right.
here. We needed the Todd Bowles special, as Jake Asman quoted it, and like we almost got it right. That team was so undisciplined last night, but now we kind of need that with Miami, and you have to show competitiveness in your division, or else what do you have?
Yeah, this is a game where I think if they lose, it's going to be really hard pressed to keep pulling away silver linings.
Yes.
For sure. There's just no way around it. And then if they win, it's I mean, we don't need to look any further than Dallas because then Dallas has no CeeDee Lamb, and you're probably going to be like a 1 point favorite at home against a team without
Yeah.
its best weapon that has a bad defense. And then you win that, and you're 2-3, and you're right with all the mid teams, and we could take it from there.
And they
Um,
also lost Tyler Booker, their left guard. Not to look ahead, and he went.
yeah.
I think he's going on IR as well with a high ankle. So they're missing a lot of key pieces on their offense, and the offensive or any injuries for the opposing teams haven't really paid off in our favor. Ed Oliver and Teron Johnson in week 2, and then the entire O line for the Bucks, no Chris Godwin. So we really need to
Yeah.
not take into
Man, I
account the
forgot they're
injuries.
going to get Godwin back. Man, that's a crazy skill group.
100%. Yeah.
Like
So,
Buka looks
I mean,
nice.
it's just interesting that, despite all the, I don't want to call them handouts, but like benefits that the team has been receiving this year, they just still can't get over the hump. And I think that's what's disheartening.
Well, that's one of those markers for when the team turns it around, because it seems as though whenever the Jets have a disadvantage, other teams exploit it to the point where it decides the game, and the Jets are unable to do that to the other teams. With Buffalo, I think it's just so different. Um, with but with teams like Miami and Dallas, you should be able to, for sure. So hopefully we get that done. What do you got going on programming wise on your channel this week, man?
I had the pre-recorded recap from the game yesterday that I put out this morning. I have a live show coming up later this week. I'm trying to line up some guests that are going to do some defensive film breakdowns for me. I will have offensive film breakdowns and trying not to kill everybody with how long they are. So I'm not going to do a whole hour long, maybe like a 40-minute film review, but then I'll answer questions on the back end of my live stream. So I definitely want to show some of the offensive clips. So hoping to have 2 different film sessions live streaming this week, hopefully like Wednesday and Friday, maybe. Not trying to lock myself in without the guests that I think I'm going to have on, but almost at 1,000 subscribers. We're less than 20 away. I got about 20 or 25 over the weekend, and I'm 5 A1 since day one members away from 50 memberships. And at that point, I'm going to
Oh
raffle
shit.
off a couple DT t-shirts and get those out to the fans. So finally been able to distribute some of those to some people. Still have to mail them out, but I have physical t-shirts that we will raffle off once I get to 50 memberships on the channel. At the $5 tier, you'll get exclusive quarterback breakdowns from college, an exclusive film breakdown from week 1's offense. I didn't do week 2's offense because there was nothing to show, but I will have a ton of exclusive content on the A1 since day one tier. So I would appreciate everybody checking that out.
Sweet, man. All right, that's Dylan Tereman. We will see you guys next week on his channel, and we'll talk